Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to show you some propaganda. Not just any propaganda, but propaganda from one of my favorite sources. Because look, I mean, more recently, there's no shortage of propaganda sources in the region, and some of the propaganda sources have become a lot more prominent because they're a bit more vulgar and louder and more persistent. But I'm going to take you to classic propaganda. Anyone who's been following propaganda in the region, as I have been doing for years, has followed Večernje novosti, because Večernje novosti is kind of the propaganda source that parades as a regular newspaper, giving people the news, but also has been doing it for years. They point with pride to the fact that they were founded during the Trieste crisis, that is, during the time when Yugoslavia was trying to claim the right to take over some land from Italy. And they've been going with that extreme stuff ever since. There was one person who described Novosti as the newspaper that says openly what the regime thinks secretly. And I think that's about right. I showed this article that I'm about to show you yesterday to a group of students. And one of the students looked at it, said, "This looks a little bit weird," and then asked, "Well, this Večernje novosti, are they kind of like the local version of the Sun?" And I'd say the student got that about right. It's the local version of the Sun. I mean, it's a classic. You come to appreciate it. It is an example of the art of the bad. And in this case, what I'm going to show you is something that it's parading as a news article. It looks like a news article, but it's not news. It's not true. The tone is not in the character of news, but it is fascinating because of the orientation and position it takes. But enough introduction. Let's show you the article, and we are going to share the screen. Share the screen right here. And there we are sharing the screen. So this appeared in Novosti yesterday. And the headline of the article says, "Trump has announced the end to fake ecologists," and then says this news is going to change everything, and then gives the name of two domestic activists for ecology and says they are going to have to understand this. Okay, so what are they showing in the article? First of all, they show this social media post made by Donald Trump yesterday, where he makes an interesting claim. I'll show you this post right now. This is what he says. He says any company investing this amount is going to receive very quickly all approvals without a delay, including environmental approvals and so on. Okay, so that's what Trump says. And I mean, to put it shortly, Trump is full of it. He's promising something that he can't do. I mean, first of all, he's talking about ways in which agencies that are autonomous from the control of the presidency are going to behave. They're required by law to behave in a way consistent with scientific findings. And second, he's promising that he will enact changes that are not within the power of the president to enact. In order to suspend things like environmental regulation, laws have to change, and only Congress can change the laws. Whether Congress is likely to change the laws, I'm going to say probably not in most cases. But what does Večernje novosti say about it? Let's have a look at the article. And I'm not going to read you the whole article. They show the post here. I'll just show you this paragraph here underneath the illustration, where they say, first of all, the change that is being made is a revolution, and a revolution in the sense that, and here's the next thing they say, in order to be competitive, all of the countries in the world are going to have to follow the example because it's a change that's been made by the largest economy in the world, and then goes on to say that activists for ecology and for protection of the environment have made a big business out of using regulation to delay development. And then they mentioned two activists by name in the article: Alexander Jovanovic, known as Chuta, and Zlatko Kakanovic, and says they are going to have to understand that change has come and they will become conscious of it. Okay, so this is basically the article, and now I'm going to stop the screen share and point out a couple of reasons why this article is kind of weird. Okay, first of all, generally speaking, when Novosti is promoting things from propaganda, they are promoting caricatured loyalty to the regime, and they were promoting ethnic hatred. So why are they promoting anti-environmental causes? Not really a general theme for them, and in fact, not a theme that's very consistent with a lot of the general orientation of nationalism. Well, it's because of a particular environmentally damaging project that the regime wants to put through and that citizens are trying to stop. And this is the project for mining of lithium in the Otter Valley. You know about that because we've talked about it elsewhere. But there is something even weirder, okay, because it's not infrequent for the propaganda sources to promote idols, but they are promoting an American as their idol. This is something that they do not usually do. I mean, this is the newspaper that you go to find verbatim quotations from the spokeswoman from the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs who speaks to their conscience. And it's true, the American that they've chosen is probably the stupidest and the worst American that there is. But nonetheless, they're doing that because it's useful to them, because they have some expectations, and because there are expectations of power. That is, we've got to the point where there is a symbiosis between the worst people in the West and the worst people in the East. But the whole item also raises some questions about propaganda, and in particular raises the question of what propaganda is good for. So let me give you four answers to the question of what propaganda is good for that we can reach based on this item that we've just looked at. First thing that propaganda is good for is to get you excited, get you in most cases outraged or angry. That is to get the adrenaline pumping. And the way that it gets the adrenaline pumping is either by directing the idolatry toward a particular object, usually a person holding a position of political power that they intend to abuse in order to do violence to some people or members of an ethnic group. And then to back it up, third answer to the question of what propaganda is good for is it's to tell you who to hate. In this case, you're supposed to hate, I guess, the people who are trying to protect the environment in which you live. And finally, the last purpose of propaganda is to tell you what to think about the world that you live in, and in particular, to tell you either, this is what most propaganda does, that the world you're living in is under threat, it is falling apart, it is going to be destroyed, or some of the time, like in this example, to tell you things in the world are going your way. So feel good. I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of analysis of propaganda. We're certain to have some more in the future. Thanks for listening.